The NCAA men's basketball tournament is almost here, and with it comes a tremendous number of sports betting opportunities. Watch this video and you'll learn how I'm going to be approaching sports betting during tournament time. Welcome to Data-Driven Sports Betting. I'm A-Train Bets, and I use my brain to make bets. In this video, I want to talk about NCAA basketball. It is tournament time. We are going to be making lots of plays, and a lot of people don't bet the tournament any better than they bet normal stuff. And we should do better than that. It's not like, granted, you're going to have some brackets. You're going to be filling out things and all this stuff. There's all this advertising around bracket. I don't even bother with the brackets because the brackets, while you fill them out and you do things, it's a lottery. Right? A lot of times there's underdogs or whatever. You're just looking at the names and you're just looking at the numbers. I've learned from year to year, my brackets end up looking the same. Like I pick the same underdogs and stuff. It's just how my brain is. And so I'm like, you know what? I'll do that. That's fine. $20. Here you go. Let's have some fun. But if you really want to make some money betting on the college basketball tournament, the way I'm going to approach it is game by game. And that's where I think the techniques that we use at A-Train Station to evaluate college basketball help unlock real profits. College basketball is known for being so unpredictable. We watch it in the tournament every year. So what can we do about that? Well, the fact is that if we use a top-down betting approach, a positive EV betting approach, where we're looking at the numbers and the odds in the market, and that is telling us where there may be opportunities to make plays that just are likely to win us money over time, that's probably better than trying to guess, do we think, the Santa Clara Broncos are going to beat the St. Mary's Gales or whoever's playing in whatever day, right? And this is true of all of college basketball season, but it is especially true during the tournament when you see these matchups and everybody's bringing their A game, the best they can be. So take some of that uncertainty and use it to your advantage where you're getting the best price and whatever options are available in the market. And with A-Train Station, we're going to show you how we do that with any given game. So let's just get into it. In this case, I have brought up the station and I've searched for college basketball in our plays screen. So we're using a very typical strategy that I will often use, which is BetOnline and Pinnacle as our weighted sharp books. So in A-Train Station, you can use any kind of weightings you want. If you want to see, you can look at all these different books and you can set how sharp you think any of them are, in this case, particularly for college basketball. And so we may want to adjust this or look at different views, but the fact is that we're just using this to prospect for opportunities. Now, today, we're before the tournament has started, so we're seeing a few basketball games here and there. For illustration purposes, this is going to be worthwhile, but when you're watching this video, the games are going to be different, but the strategies and the way we analyze these games are going to be very similar. So here on the plays page, this is a Monday that we're recording this. There's not too much going on in terms of college basketball right now, but there's a couple games that we can take a look at. So in this case, we have a play at Caesars where they are offering minus 105 on under 79 and hook from James Madison, over under 79.5. So it's a team total on a college basketball game. But you can see at A-Train Station, what we have is this visual display, which shows us at the top, here's the book that we can bet at that has positive EV. Here's Pinnacle, which is our sharp book, our only sharp book that has a number in this market right now. And here's everything else. And so we can look at the market and we say, okay, well, Pinnacle, sharpest book in the world, has a 4.5% hold here. Caesars is even a little bit lower, but not really anything of consequence. You see everybody's moved a little bit to the right. And all you have to do is say, okay, is Caesars versus Pinnacle, do we like this line at Caesars? Well, you may or you may not, right? By the math alone, there's a slight edge here. Looks fairly good. Everything feels kind of thin. You see a little bit of line movement to the right here. That means that those numbers have kind of moved over time. You can see down here, you have this range has been minus 106 to minus 101. So it's gotten a little bit better on the side. Same thing with Caesars has moved from minus 105 to plus 100. What we're seeing here is that there's not a whole lot to go on. So in this case, you may or may not want to make a play. But there's one thing that's absolutely true, is that if you like James Madison Dukes under 79.5 for a play in college basketball today, then Caesars is the place you want to play that for sure. So this is where I want to use this as an example for college basketball, because in the tournament, you may say, hey, I love this team. I got to bet me some Ohio State, whatever it is. And you want to say, all right, well, if I have a play that I want to make, what's the best play available based on the math? So you can come to a page like this and say, well, I like James Madison Dukes under 79.5. I don't know if you're going to have that kind of opinion out of the blue, but the math wise, that tells you that's pretty good. So if you have an opinion on that, then that may be a play you want to make. But you see here, this is a Monday. When we get to tournament time, this is going to be a ton of different stuff coming our way, right? But this is taking it and showing us opportunities purely based on where there are positive EV opportunities in the market. Again, a Monday is going to be fairly slow, but you could say, well, I'm not seeing a game I want to see here. So what we can do is we can go to our events listing and we can go to basketball, college basketball, and now we can see all the events that are available to us. There are some games, but we're churning through a lot of information here to be able to present those rare needles in a haystack that represent actually mathematically profitable opportunities. There's a whole bunch of plays that you can make. And that's the thing. Sometimes sharp betting isn't always just about finding mathematically profitable in isolation top-down plays. It's actually about saying, what's the best I can do on this play that I have a read on from a bottom-up perspective by looking at the side first? Where's the best way to make this play? So let's look at Towson and Charleston Cougars. We'll just take the top of the list here. When we bring up their list, we can see different categories. We can look at the event. We can see, hey, there's this EV percentage on the first half two-way line. That's interesting. Let's take a look at that. Now we can see Caesars has a play there. We already made that play. That's why we didn't see it in our other list. We already hit it. But this is the kind of thing where you can look at it from the perspective of, oh yeah, this is one that I would want to make if I wasn't already having bet it, right? So I already bet it earlier today. So now I can see, all right, well, that's a play I would have wanted to make. So if I can go back here, I'd say, okay, well, let's look at some spreads. So now some spreads, we can calculate whenever we have a bet online and a pinnacle number, we can look at what the EV percentage is. There's nothing that's positive on here, but we can say, well, if I really like one side of this is the lowest EV. And if I want to play Charleston Cougars -6, low vig's the place to do it, right? Low vigs is where I want to go to it. It's not a positive EV play, but it's the lowest negative EV play. So if I really like them in this game and I really want to put money on Charleston, at least do it where you get the best price. Look at that. You're saving 7 cents off of that, right? It costs you $103 to win $100 versus everywhere else it costs you $110 to win $100. At least get the good deal, right? That's what A-Train Station can help you do in all sports. But in college basketball, you're going to have opinions on things, and you might want to be playing things to hedge potentially another bet that you have in a bracket or something that you have somewhere else. This is part of being a sharp sports bettor, is that you need to be thinking broadly about your strategy. And sometimes that means doing things that come from different directions. We talk a lot about that at A-Train Station and during my live streams. We talk about using different book sharpness weightings. We talk about looking at things different ways, because ultimately you're looking to carve out edges wherever they are. And that's where you don't get to decide where are edges. And the more you close yourself off to opportunities, the less edges you're going to find, right? So what we want to do is be able to say, okay, where's the best play here? If I want to bet the total, well, here's where I seem to have the lowest negative EV. There's nothing positive, but if I want to bet the total in this game, I can tell you definitively right now that if you like the over, this -2.5 at BetUS or Virgin Bet or Live Score Bet, that's where you want to play it if you like that side. So once you start to understand, here's how you can look at different ways to play it, that's fine. So let's go back to our plays screen here. And let's just look at a few plays. So we're going to look here, and all you have to do is type in college basketball, and it just search, it filters immediately. We'll leave the ones that we've already bet in just for reference points. But let's take a look at this Anton Watson rebounds over 6.5. This is, again, a player prop for tonight. This one's over at DraftKings. And what we do at A-Train Station is we're looking at this and we're saying, okay, well, what does this tell us? It tells us this is a market where there's some line movement to the right. So everybody's been moving their numbers and kind of shifting. And BetOnline, who is a good source for sharpness in terms of player props, they have a read on this of Anton Watson rebounds over 6.5, where that DraftKings line is too far away from what market truth should be. Even after the hold, even after the VIG is calculated, that's what gets us to this no VIG line, or this true odds line. Anything that jumps over that becomes mathematically profitable. So what you want to do is, ideally, you would be able to say, I like Anton Watson rebounds because I follow Gonzaga all the time, or San Francisco all the time, and I know that in this game, this person's likely to get some rebounds, right? If you have that knowledge, and I don't have that knowledge, but if I did, I would be able to say, well, I know mathematically this is profitable, and I like the aspects of this that lead me to say this is a bet that I want to make. Now, this is the problem, right? That most people in sports betting tend to gravitate to either I think about the sides and I love Anton Watson and I love his rebounds, or they think purely about the numbers, purely about positive EV and top-down strategies, saying, well, math says it, let's just go blindly bet it. Well, the fact is that both of those are wrong. If you bet just the sides and you're not thinking about the numbers, you're leaving money on the table, you're not serious about this. If you're just betting the numbers and not thinking about the players, well, you're assuming that the efficient market hypothesis is correct. Basically, with the efficient market hypothesis, we have total videos that cover this in detail, but it basically says the market has all the information, and that information is priced appropriately into the prices that you can get in that financial market. In this case, that manifests in the odds that we can get. The thing is, in sports betting, how many people really know what Anton Watson's rebounds should be? They can look at some previous stats, but they don't know all of it. And certainly there's not enough people out there with all the knowledge and with a clear sense of understanding of the numbers to do that. You've got people on polar sides. You've got people who aren't paying any attention to the numbers that are just saying, I like Anton Watson rebounds. And you have a bunch of people looking at numbers who don't even know which team Anton Watson is on, right? So how's that going to get to an efficient market? Nobody's got any information. They're all using pieces of information. They're just mashing it together and you end up with what you end up. It's probably just based on his previous performance. Therein lies an opportunity. So sports betting has opportunities if you can go beyond the efficient market hypothesis, because we know for a fact that it's not that efficient. It is not that efficient. These markets don't last long enough. There's not enough knowledgeable information in it. There's not enough money on Anton Watson rebounds to know whether or not that's good or bad. When we get to the tournament, however, that's when you're going to have everything amped up. So the market efficiency is actually going to improve. So we'll be able to use top-down modeling much better than we can use it 2 weeks beforehand, right? So keep that in mind. The efficiency will get better, but our strategy stays about the same. So if we can say, hey, we have a read on this player. We like this player. We don't like this player. We would want to bring in some of that knowledge of the sides because we know the market's not going to be perfectly efficient under any circumstance. Even in the Super Bowl, there's tons of market inefficiencies on the Super Bowl, even though everybody's betting it, right? Doesn't matter, right? So it will get more efficient. There will be more opportunities. There will be more edges to play. There will be more opportunities to look at this stuff. But if you can bring in some awareness of how this person's likely to perform, and if that can be at least as good as what the market information that's driving the odds for those sportsbooks can be. Because think about it. If you were a sportsbook, how are you going to offer lines on everything? Everything. All the college football, college basketball, pros, everything. And all the players and all the props and all the stuff. I mean, hundreds of bets on any game, let alone hundreds, if not thousands of games, right? So not an easy task. Now, granted, these are professional organizations and some very large organizations that should be well designed to do this. They're not, they're lazy. And so there you have the people setting the odds. They get all that difference between the odds. They're like, as long as we're close enough, we're fine. That's not a good way to base market efficient hypothesis, right? That is not the way to use that as a barometer of truth. That's why we use certain chart books to help guide us on what truth should be. That's how we get to these no vig lines. And that is where we can start to carve out an edge. So as we get to the tournament time, what today is a pretty, Anton Watson rebounds, fine. When we get to the tournament, this is going to be a more efficient market. More people are going to bet on it. More people are going to be looking at the data. We're going to have slightly better information to drive our calculation of the no vig odds. Great. But we're also going to have the opportunity to know what's going on with these players. A lot of people won't watch basketball all year long and then all of a sudden do a crash course in information on the tournament time. Now they're using more information. Now they're taking that into account. Most bettors are still not looking at the numbers nearly enough. And those people that are looking at the numbers are looking at the players nearly enough. We want to be, and where you want to be is sitting between them, saying, I'll take a little bit of that and a little bit of that. I'm going to combine them up. And when those match, when those point you in a direction, run. That is the goal, right? So that is the lesson I want you to take from all this is be thoughtful on the way you would normally assess betting. Don't forget that. Don't listen to the people who are like, forget everything you know about betting. Do the number thing. Don't do that. Keep that in mind because your information is probably better than you think because these markets are notably inefficient. So take that knowledge, see what it tells you, and then bump it up with the math. Bump it up with the numbers. Use the data. Use the entire context. When we're at A-Train Station, we're looking at these plays. There's a lot of context here. We see what a number of books have. We see what different odds are available. You can bounce to these different plays and say, okay, well, what if we went over 7.5? Who's offering lines there? If we went over under 5.5, who's offering lines there? And that's where you can start to look at this. You see the game information. You see what the percentages are at different places, line movements, you name it, right? You change your book weightings. All of these things are useful to you to understand the total context and that data story around particular plays. And that allows you to get a sense and a decision around whether or not you want to make this play. So in this case, I don't see a ton of value in the one that we were just looking at, but that analysis method will lead you to these needles and haystacks, and it will happen fast during the tournament. So that is really what I wanted to cover. It's a little bit of the basics of A-Train Station. You can learn about those elsewhere. When you think about college basketball, though, we have how we would analyze a play on a Monday 2 weeks before the tournament. And now when we get to the tournament, you're going to want to say, okay, the market's more efficient. I can rely a little bit more on the numbers, but I still want to bring in some sense of, do I like this better or not? And when those align, run and make the play. Okay, so with that, that's really what we want to cover. It's exciting time of year. The station could really help you do it. Would love to have you as a member. But even if not, check out my live streams. I do them every day, 7:30 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday, as well as 9 a.m. Central Time on Saturdays and Sundays. We also do occasional power hours at 4 p.m. Central. You can check my Twitter for the latest on when those are happening. So with that, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a lot of fun with the tournament. I hope this video helps you understand how you might be able to bet that a little bit better this year than you have in the past. Whether you use the station or not, these techniques are the way to get the most out of your college basketball betting experience. And for now, this train is leaving the station. Until next time, save the units for the bros and do your betting with the pros.